Hey, this is the second part of behind the scenes on how I edit my photos. Today I'm going to compare my two go-to softwares when it comes to photo editing. The first one is Snapseed, of course, you have seen it last time, and the second one is Adobe Lightroom. This amazing sunset picture which I'm going to edit in a second is sent by Steph from Scotland. Thanks a lot, Steph. I guess that's enough talking and let's get cracking. This is a JPEG image which was sent to me via WhatsApp. So the image must have gone through some sort of compression during the process. There are ways where we can send the image without compressing in WhatsApp, but that's for a different day. I haven't done such comparison before, so I'm super excited to see how the outcome is going to be. I did exactly the same thing with both the softwares. First thing first, rotate and straighten the image. I chose the square crop to focus on the dramatic sunset skies and the Victorian neighborhood. In Snapseed, I have to crop and then go back to a rotate tool to rotate. When it comes to Lightroom, I can crop and rotate with the same tool. For this particular image, I don't think there's a need to rotate. White balance. Both the software provides plenty of presets when it comes to raw files, but JPEG file has its own restrictions and limitation. The main objective of white balance is to keep the whites white. You can always play around with the sliders, sliding them left and right to see what works for you, but I always go for that little eyedropper tool. Once I have identified the closest white in the frame, I just have to bring this eyedropper tool, which will automatically zoom in for me to pick the right spot. Both the softwares are doing an amazing job picking up the right white. I'm completely surprised that there's not much difference between these two softwares when it comes to picking up the right white. I can't spot much of a difference. Can you? Color correction, or you can call it as tune image or lights in the Lightroom. This is where I play around and do my minute changes. Again, you can see both these two softwares are doing the exact same thing. I mean, there's not much changes, literally there's no changes at all. Even the presets, the amount of options available are identical. Once I'm happy with the changes, I move on to my favorite tool. Guess what? Yes, curves. In Snapseed, you can find curves in the main tools panel, but when it comes to Lightroom, you have to go in the lights option to find the curves. And that's where the difference stops. Both the softwares are doing exact same thing when it comes to correcting my reds, greens and blues, and even if I want to do my master correction, I can do the same way. Literally, I don't see any difference. Selective correction. I use this tool pretty much almost every time. In Snapseed, I can use the selective tool or the brush tool to get the same result. Here I want to lighten the shadows on those buildings. So what I'm going to do now, take this brush tool, increase the exposure value a bit, not to overexpose but to just bring in those clarity and some more details. So I will just increase the exposure a tad bit. If I press that little eye icon, I can see what I'm doing. I can easily use that to trace where I'm brushing. So quickly I can go to history and see where we started and where we are now. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good and I'm happy with the results so far. Here is another way of doing it. So we can go to history and click that little brush icon there, and then we can erase whatever we have done when it comes to exposure correction, and all those layers we can selectively remove or change the values as we go along. One thing we have to be mindful of when it comes to Snapseed is if you keep changing the values, you will eventually lose the clarity and the details in the image. Another quick review on where we started and where we are now. Okay, let's see what Lightroom is capable of when it comes to selective correction. The beauty of the selective correction in Lightroom is I can use the selective correction as an ND filter. Look at that, just as if you are sliding those ND filter in front of your lens. I can now manually correct the exposure to the level I want to. Not only exposure, everything under the sun. I can literally correct almost everything. Look at that. I can drop in the shadows, increase the shadows, do whatever I want. And even if I want to see what I'm doing, all I have to do is press that little blue dot and it will highlight what I have corrected. Not only that, I can add multiple slides to the same image. For example, here I want to darken the skies a bit and to increase the vibrance, maybe change the vibrance. I can do that, no problem. I feel this is one of the major difference between Lightroom and Snapseed. Right, let's talk about presets. Within my friends in the photography circle, we always debate about presets, whether it's good or bad. I'm a guy who's okay with it if you're doing it in moderation. Both the softwares provides pre-installed presets. In Snapseed, I don't see how we can change the intensity of those filters. But in Lightroom, I can change the intensity or the opacity of the filters exactly to the way I want. In Lightroom, I have the freedom to save these images into different versions: moody, black and white, warm, vibrant, you name it, I can save it. And I can go back to those images from the same image panel and I can edit. But unfortunately, in Snapseed, I can't do that, or maybe I don't know how to do that. All I can see is I can save the presets and apply to another image, not the same image. Well, will I be applying the same presets? No, I'm not that kind of guy, I don't go for the same presets for every image. Okay, now let's compare the pros and cons. Since we have completed the whole process of editing this image, I can tell you both the softwares are capable of handling the image the exact same way when it comes to basic corrections. Selective correction is where Snapseed fell a bit, but saving the same image in different versions within the same panel is a big deal for me. Not only that, when it comes to Lightroom, I can seamlessly start editing the same image in the laptop, which I have been editing in the smartphone. For me, that's one of the biggest game changer. When Snapseed is free, is it worth paying that £9.4 a month for Lightroom? I would say yes, because I'm getting few other Adobe products along with that, and it works for me. You decide if it's worth for you or not. I hope this video helped. If yes, I'm glad. Thank you.